Let's audit a branding and website design agency's Google Ads account together. I'm Jill Saskin-Gales. I'm a Google Ads coach and the founder of the Inside Google Ads course, podcast, and soon-to-be book. I'm here with my Inside Google Ads course members who are invited to audit this account with me. So if you are a course member who's here, please feel free to type any questions into the chat and I'll get to those with you. And if you are watching this recording right now on LinkedIn or YouTube, you can also feel free to ask a question and I'll get back to you. Over the course of less than an hour, because I have a client meeting in 59 minutes, we are going to audit this Google Ads account together. I'm going to show you every step I take, my audit template, everything like that, so that you can learn to audit your Google Ads account just like I do. I'm offering this for free because I recently reached 10,000 LinkedIn followers. Mind-blowing. Thank you so much to you. And so I put out a call. Who wants a free Google Ads account audit? And 4 businesses came back to me in time saying they were okay sharing this online and granting me access to their accounts. So today we are starting with M81 Creative. This is a strategic branding and website design agency in Toronto. And the business owner specifically said they wanted us to look at a few things. First, they wanted to know if they should be running more ads that are tailored to specific industries and services, like branding for lawyers or rather than branding for professional services, for example. So we'll take a look at that, what the structure should look like. Second is about Google search partners. They're saying they got a lot of unwanted traffic. Should they keep that turned off? So first we'll check if it is actually turned off, because just because a business owner says something is the case in a Google Ads account, it doesn't mean that's always the case. And then we'll see what to do about that. And then third, they said their goal is to have a lead fill out a contact form, but they weren't sure how to do that. So right now the conversion tracking is just a visit to the contact page. So we can see that on their website here. I can click get in touch. Somewhere is a contact form. Okay, here's a contact form. And they're not tracking if people actually submit or not. So that's something they want to know how to do as well. All right, let us dive into this session. And again, if you have any questions at all, feel free to let me know. Okay, here in a new document, I've already started. This is my Google Ads account audit template. My Inside Google Ads course members get this along with more than 100 in-platform tutorials, link to join below this video. So I like to fill out some basic details here first. So the account is M81 Creative. The date we are going to look at is the last 30 days. So for right now, that's November 10th to December 9th. If this were like an e-commerce business, I may be concerned about that date range since Black Friday and Cyber Monday's in there, but for this one, I'm not. And the goal is leads. Okay, so when we're doing a Google Ads account audit, we want to start with the data foundation, conversion tracking. And we actually know because the client told us they had some questions about conversion tracking. So let's come into campaigns. And I'm going to add the segment for conversion action to see what's going on here. Okay, so I can see we have that submit lead form is what it's called, but it's actually done on a page load. And we saw that here on their website. When this page loads, that is when it's counted. This is quite an in-depth form. So I'm going to guess that not all 35 or all 19 of these people actually submitted. I'm just going to filter now to only look at enabled campaigns just to make this a little cleaner. Okay. And we can see here value per conversion 1. So they're not putting any different conversion values. It just did the conversion happen or did it not happen? So conversion tracking, I'm going to give this a yellow out of red, yellow, green. It's not like we have nothing, but it's not tracking what we actually need to track. So contact page views are being tracked as conversions, and you've had good conversion volume over the last 30 days. However, you want to track form submissions. To implement this, you'll need to consult with your website forms provider about how their Google Ads conversion tracking works. Because it's really different if they use like a Squarespace form or a HubSpot form or whatever it might be. Some of these offer Google Ads tracking when the form is actually submitted and some don't. So that's something I can't just say, here's how you solve that. They're going to have to look into that with their forms provider. Now, one more thing I'll touch before we're done with conversions is actually look under goals, conversions, summary. And when it loads, this is where the conversions actually live in the account. So we can see this is their active action. There's also this local actions website visits. That's something tied to the Google business profile. It is set as primary, which I wouldn't recommend, but none of them have happened. So I'm just going to leave that alone, and then nothing else here. So they're going to want to add a conversion action for when someone actually does submit the lead form and not just visit the page. Next, I like to check attribution. Not that it'll make a huge difference here with so few campaigns and only one action, but I just wanted to view this table because now I can see the attribution column and I can see they are using data-driven attribution, which is what I like to see. So attribution, you are using data-driven attribution, which is what I recommend. No action needed. And then third thing I like to look at, I make it green, is the audience definitions. And specifically what I'm looking at there is remarketing and whether or not that's been set up. So we go Tools, Shared Library Audience Manager. Okay, we got a bunch of stuff in here. Actually 7, that's not that many. So AdWords Optimize, these are, look at that, they're all automatically created. So the client or whoever's managing their ads hasn't actually set any of this up. So we have AdWords Optimized List, all visitors from the Google Ads tag, all converters, all visitors, which you can see it's kind of duplicative and they even do have the same numbers. All visitors system defined, all visitor system defined. So like, why do we have these 4 legit? I don't know, but we do. And then this Google Engaged Audiences is pretty new. It's something Google automatically creates of people who interact with your Google Ads. So here's the thing. Do I recommend they have more lists? Yes, but given the scale of this account and the fact that it's very search focused and very niche, are audiences going to make some ginormous difference to their business? No. So I like to take that into account. Like if this were a bigger account with more spend and more conversion actions and more campaigns, I'd give them a red, but like we're probably not going to be using many of these audiences anyway. So for this account, I would give this a yellow. And I will say basic website remarketing is set up in the account. There are many more kinds of remarketing audiences you could set up, like YouTube remarketing, customer lists, etc. However, given the smaller scope and scale of the account, I wouldn't recommend spending time, effort on this right now. And there we go. Okay, that is our data foundation. Now we are going to move into bids and budgets. Let's do it. So I'm going to go back to my campaign view. And I can remove this segment now because it doesn't matter. And we want to see what bid strategy do we have. It's all the way over on the side here. We have one campaign that's using target CPA, and we have one that is using maximize conversions. Okay. Our target for target CPA is $25. If you don't have the right columns here, by the way, then if you go modify columns under attributes, that's where you'll find bid strategy type. And then if they're using target CPA or target ROAS or whatever, then you can add those columns as well to see what those targets are. So this campaign has at least 30 conversions in 30 days. It's using target CPA. The target is $25, and the actual CPA, that's all conversions. Let me just make sure we go over to, there we go. The actual one is 1964. And hello to those who just joined. I'm doing a real Google Ads audit right now. So if you have any questions at all, you could feel free to type them into the chat and I'll get back to you. So in this campaign, the actual CPA is just under $20. The target is $25. So we are exceeding the target. For this campaign, it's on maximize conversions. There's only 19 conversions in the last 30 days. So it doesn't hit that 30 and 30 threshold, but it is close. They could potentially use target CPA here. The actual CPA is only $9. It's very low. Now, big caveat, again, a conversion here is just visiting the contact form page. It is not a true form submission. So when this business owner implements proper conversion tracking to actually measure form submissions, the CPA will understandably be a lot higher. They will get way fewer conversions and they would have to adjust things from there. So in the current landscape of how conversions are set up, we could use target CPA here as well. Given that we're anticipating changing the conversion tracking, I'm not going to recommend now all of a sudden implementing target CPA when we're just going to have to go and change it. Now, bidding and budgets are very intertwined, so that's why I like to look at both of those together before going back to my template and making a recommendation. So for budget, this one is $50 a day, and it's saying limited. Let's see how limited, because normally this won't recommend more than 3 times your budget, although it is here. Look at that. Our current budget is $50. It's recommending $160, which is slightly more than 3 times the current budget, which means we are severely limited by budget. Now, this one, only $5 a day. Why is it not saying limited by budget? Well, remember, we're on a maximize conversions bid strategy for this campaign. And by definition, a maximize strategy can't be limited by budget because the bid strategy just says, here's my budget, maximize within it. So it probably could spend a lot more, but it just can't be limited by budget because it's on a maximize strategy. Whereas this is on a target strategy, so it absolutely can be and is limited by budget. So the last piece of that puzzle to look at now is search impression share. And we have that here. So this one has only 13% impression share. It's saying there's a lot more opportunity. See, this one has less than 10% impression share. So at $5 a day, it is absolutely limited by budget, but it just can't say so because of the bid strategy chosen here. I'm going to add 2 more columns for impression share here. That is under competitive metrics. So search lost IS rank and search lost IS budget, not top. I don't want ones that say top. I want these other ones, and apply. Now, these columns will not be meaningful for the maximize conversions campaign. Again, because it's a maximize bid strategy, the difference between these 2 columns, not meaningful. But up here, because we're on a target strategy, or if you are on a manual strategy, it is important. So it's saying, okay, we had 13% impression share, almost 60% lost due to budget. So just up your budget and we should be able to get you more at similar CPA, which is great. 27% lost due to rank. So the solution here would be just to raise the budget. However, I'm not going to recommend a budget raise before we see what we're actually serving on here to see if that truly is the right thing to do. So let's document some of what we've just told about. Sometimes in an audit, it's easy to just get carried away with, oh, discover, and you forget, I have to actually tell them what we're doing. So first, I like to look at smart bidding usage, and I can say both campaigns are using smart bidding strategies. Larger campaign is using target CPA, and the smaller campaign is using maximize conversions. This is what I would have recommended for each. Good. And then smart bidding targets. It's one thing to use smart bidding. It's another, are they using targets or not? Should they be? And are they the right targets? So the target CPA campaign has a target of $25 and the actual CPA is $20. So it is meeting target. Okay. And then budget allocation. Both campaigns are limited by budget. The first, because it is hitting target and there is a lot more available search volume for you to capture. The second, because it only has $5 a day, which is too small a budget to be effective. You always want a campaign's budget to be at least 10 times average CPC, and the average CPC in this campaign is suppressed because of how low the budget is, but even with that, the average CPC is $1.56. We'll call it $2. So the budget should be at least $20 a day, or you should pause the campaign. Okay. So let's give some colors here. For smart bidding usage, I'm going to say green. For smart bidding targets, I'm going to say green. For budget allocation, yellow, or is this our first red? I'm going to go red, partly because we have a $5 a day campaign, which is just silly, and partly because the other one is so severely budget limited. Now, before we dive into targeting, there's something I've been noticing here. Maybe you've been noticing it too. This little icon right here. That tells us that this campaign is opted into the display network. And I also mentioned at the beginning, this client was saying they turned off search partners and they were wondering if that's the right decision. So we want to take a look at that right now before we go any further. So we're going to segment, network with search partners. Okay, so they haven't turned off search partners. In their email, they said they turned off search partners. Was that the right thing to do? I can see here that's not actually true. They are still advertising on search partners. Now this one, even though it is opted into display, it hasn't served it all on display. So I will recommend turning display off. You never want display in a search campaign. And search partners, let's see how it's doing. So for this first campaign, about 10% of spend has gone to search partners. And then for this second one, it's almost 50-50 search versus search partners. Now, search partners will usually have a lower CPC, but then lower conversion rate. And so at the end of the day, is it worth it from a CPA perspective? And what you can actually see here is that it is. Here, the CPA, cost per conversion, is about the same, search versus search partners, and the volume is about the same. That's key, okay? Because if it was like 10 conversions from search, 1 from search partners, and it was about the same, well, it was only 1 conversion. That's different than like, no, like half the conversions and same CPA, like, yeah, search partners is actually performing well here, with a caveat I'll get to in a moment. And then up here, the volume from search partners is much lower, but again, 4 conversions, nothing to sneeze at. And turns out CPA is actually lower from search partners. So just based on the data here with no other context, we say, yeah, search partners are actually working really well. Thing to keep in mind, though, is conversion tracking. We are tracking a page view. We are not tracking a form submission. If we were, we might see some different behavior. So based on what's here, I would leave search partners for now. But once we fix conversion tracking, we might want to see, is search partners still pulling its weight or is it not? So these are notes I'm going to make down here. One campaign is opted into display network. Although it hasn't spent money there in the last 30 days, I recommend turning display off. And then I'm going to add one, search partners. Both campaigns are still opted into search partners, and you're spending overall, let's see how much. So if we go total, 146 out of 866, what's that? So about 17% of your budget. Partners. However, it is converting and performing well. Once you implement proper conversion tracking, it may not actually perform so well. For now, I would recommend leaving search partners on, and this would be something to monitor once proper conversion tracking is in place. Okay, so these are things that don't go into the scorecard, but they're just kind of other things I like to make a note of when I'm doing the audit. Okay, targeting. Let's get into it. So these are search campaigns. Let's turn this segment off for a sec, and I am going to want to go here. And hi to those that are just joining. I am auditing a real Google Ads account for you in real time right now. If you have any questions at all, drop it into the comments and I'll get back to you. Okay, so we are in the main campaign for this Toronto Branding for Professional Services. It has just one ad group called the default, ad group 1. Let's see what the keywords look like. Oh my goodness. Ouch. My heart hurts. No, not from the coffee, because of these keywords. Okay. This is not what I would have chosen. Let's talk about it. So first things first, we have broad match keywords. Broad match isn't bad. It's just hard to make work at lower budgets. So because we have broad match keywords, regardless of what I think of what's here, this is almost irrelevant. I'm going to have to look at the search terms to see what's actually happening. From what I do see here, let's make sure we have all rows. We don't. This is keywords 1 to 10 of 15. So good news first then. I recommend about 5 to 15 keywords per ad group. We are in that. But there's a lot of different intent here. Like someone looking for a logo design, which by the way is where the majority of money here has gone, really different than someone looking for a creative branding agency in Toronto, which is also different from someone looking for a graphic designer. There's lots of different intent going on here. So first thing I'll say here is we need to have multiple ad groups around those services, the key services. And usually the way to figure that out is to look at your website. So this is the client's website. Well, then this is also feedback for their website, because the website has everything just on one page. We don't have different landing pages to send people. It looks like here, these aren't different landing pages. They're all on the same landing page. Clients to partner with. So I can see their services are brand strategy, brand identity, web development, and then miscellaneous other stuff. So those are probably going to be their 3 ad groups: brand strategy, brand identity, web development. Now, brand identity, that's something someone who comes up with a brand identity might call it. That's not something that someone searching would necessarily call it. So that's something they're going to have to look at as well. Like someone searching for brand strategy, brand design, what does that really mean to them? Another thing I'm noticing is these keywords are quite generic in that they only have 1 or 2 words, like branding. It's very unlikely in this day and age you're ever going to want a keyword that's just 1 word. And even 2-word keywords can sometimes not be specific enough. So like creative branding agency, Toronto branding studio, that's good because they are located in Toronto and probably most likely to work with people in Toronto. But it doesn't just have to be location based. Like logo and brand design, impressions low, but not because there's low search volume, just because it's been eaten up by these overly generic things like logo design and branding. Okay, now that we've looked at that, let's look at the actual search terms that we're getting here. I'm a little bit nervous. Let's see what comes up. Okay, and we want to sort this by impressions. Top marketing agencies in USA is the #1 thing they've showed impressions on. Interesting, given that they are not in the USA and they're not a marketing agency. They do branding and web design, which is not marketing. Then we have Marketing Agency Toronto, also not what they do. Logo diffusion. I actually don't know what that is. Let's Google it to find out. What is logo diffusion? Looks like some kind of AI logo creator, an AI-powered logo generator. Okay, so someone looking for an AI logo or an automated logo, not looking to pay. Advertising agency. So we can see like none of this is relevant until maybe we get here, which is our 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th graphic designer. And that's only had 10 impressions. So why is this happening? Well, because of the way match types work. And I have a column over here for keyword. Let me just move it closer so this is easier to see. You'll find it under attributes, keyword, and I'm actually just going to drag it up here. There we go. So we can see which searches match to which keyword. So your keyword branding, so generic that you're matching to people looking for marketing agencies. Logo design is matching to all these AI logo makers. Again, branding matching to advertising agency. Some things in Arabic that I actually don't even know what they mean. KIMP logo, like just really generic stuff. Then we start to get into some other agencies. Cosette, Brandmark, I think Jackknife might be an agency. But most of this is just not stuff we'd want to be advertising on. And then the other thing, so this is what happens. Look, total for all the search terms we can see, $424. Total for other search terms that we can't see for privacy reasons, $263. And because we're optimizing towards a page view, not a real lead, Google thinks it's doing a really good job. It has driven conversions for that. So there's a lot of spend going towards garbage we can't even see. And the stuff we can see is a lot of garbage. So in this circumstance, I'm not recommending trying to salvage any of this. I'm recommending starting fresh. I'm recommending exact match keywords. I'm recommending at least 2, if not 3 or more words per keyword. And I'm recommending multiple ad groups. Let's write all that down for this client. Okay. Keyword optimization. This is just in the one campaign. So this is in the main campaign. Okay. In your main campaign, you have 15 broad match keywords for overly generic things like branding. As a result, you are serving ads on very generic, relevant searches like, let's go give some examples. Top marketing agencies in USA and logo diffusion. I don't see much that's salvageable. Is that how you spell it? Yeah. Here, I recommend setting up a new search campaign with 3 ad groups, one for each of your service offerings, which are brand strategy, brand identity, web development. Ooh. Each of those will need its own landing page on your website in order for the ad groups to be successful. Each ad group only needs 5 keywords, and these should be more specific keywords. For example, brand strategy agency rather than branding, or logo design expert rather than logo. You can use Keyword Planner to guide you in this process. Okay. And again, I like to tailor this to who I'm talking to. So I know this is a business owner. They are not a Google Ads expert. They don't want to be a Google Ads expert. So I'm going to keep it there. If I were doing this for like a freelancer or agency or like an in-house Google Ads specialist, I might then go into more detail about like other search terms and match types and whatever. But here, not. Oh, that's a good point that I wanted. No, 3 in exact match. Okay, so keyword optimization. Sorry, giving them a red. Let's look at negatives. Have they, wrong red. Have they been using negatives at all? And again, I'm mostly focusing here because their other campaign isn't spending just $5 a day. So not as much of an impact there. Negatives. Okay, we do have some Looka, but only 14 negatives. So not really. And we can see from the search terms report that this has not been optimized in the last 30 days, because if so, we would see things excluded here. So negative keywords, they're also getting a red. Sorry. There are very few negative keywords in the account. Given how relevant the search terms are, I recommend new keywords rather than trying to fight it with hundreds of negatives. However, when you launch a new campaign, make sure to check your search terms report weekly and add negatives as needed. Okay, quality score. We find that by looking at our search keywords. And if you're just joining, welcome. Please feel free to ask any questions in the comments and I will get back to you. We are auditing a real live Google Ads account right now. So quality score, I like to look at by ad group. There's only one ad group here, and I sort just by the ones that actually have a score, and then I look for trends. If you want to add these columns, you can go columns, modify columns. Over here is quality score, and you want to add the ones that don't say hist, unless you're in a situation I was in yesterday where we were analyzing campaigns that were no longer live. They had been live a couple months ago, so then I had to use the ones that say hist, meaning historical. Okay. So for the ones that have it, 7, 5, 3. I've seen worse. I've seen better. 7 is actually quite good. 3 is quite bad. 5's in the middle. I'd like to then look at which aspect of quality score is most in need of attention. So ad relevance is when you have most control over. It's all above average. Good. Don't need to worry about that. Landing page experience is one you have least control over. And this is mostly below average. We're not going to worry about that. Here, expected CTR, some above average, but then a lot of below average. So that's the one we're going to focus on here. Why are some above average and some below average? Probably has to do with the ad text. Remember, your CTR, your click-through rate, has to do with, are you advertising on the right searches? And is your ad enticing enough to get that person to your website? Our actual CTR is like pretty good, but this low expected CTR means that other people in the auction have more enticing ads than we do, and their click-through rate is better. So I think part of this fix is just going to be advertising on more relevant searches, and because then the ad text will be more tailored to what we have. So again, I'm not going to like dive into this whole rabbit hole. for this client, I'm just going to note that the quality score is like medium, and expected CTR will be something they'll want to focus on. Always good to keep your audience in mind. Okay. Score ranges from 3 to 7 with most room for improvement around expected CTR. This will likely improve once you pick more specific keywords and arrange them into more tightly themed ad groups. And remember that your ad text needs to be enticing in order to get people to click on your ads. Okay. Oh, and I got to put a little score. I'm going to put yellow for that one. Dynamic or feed usage. There's no shopping, so don't need to worry about that. Let's see if there's any dynamic ad groups. So in this campaign, there is not. Let's check the other campaign. There is a dynamic ad group. It's, barely served anything, but it does exist. How's it been set up? For the homepage. So this one is targeting the homepage, whereas let's go to landing pages and make sure I'm for the whole campaign, not just this ad group. So most stuff actually is going to the homepage, which is probably another issue. This is struggling because if we just land on our homepage, it doesn't say anything about what we just searched for. This is why that landing page experience was low. And here, notice how that's kind of hard to read. People are going to leave before getting too deep into this. Okay. So dynamic feed usage, they do have it, but it's barely being used. But I also wouldn't recommend it here. So when that happens, I just leave it black. And I say, there is a dynamic ad group in the smaller campaign. It has barely served, and ads are not a solution I'd recommend for you anyway. I recommend pausing this ad group. So I'm not giving it green, red, whatever. It's just black. It's there, and we want to get rid of it. Targeting expansion, not relevant here because it's only search. Audiences is potentially relevant to search. So when something is like not relevant, I can just delete it from the scorecard. No problem. Audiences, we probably don't have here, but let's just double check. You never know. I saw something yesterday, an account where the target audience was college students, and for some reason they'd excluded age 18 to 24. Yeah, that was a problem. So always good to check your audiences. And what do you know? There are audiences here. They're on observation, and they are the very generic top-level audiences. So this isn't doing anything for us. Like this data isn't even going to be helpful. Down here, kind of a mix. Most coming, we're in the secondary campaign to keep in mind, but most clicks actually coming from the unknown segment. Oh, because of search partners. Because search partners, this stuff would all be unknown. So that's why we're seeing that so big for this campaign, because search partners was half the spend. If we go back to the main campaign, this does not have any audience segments. Still a lot of unknown, and not just able to be explained by search partners here. Really high unknown. I don't think we're getting good quality traffic here. Okay, so what are we going to say about audiences? Have been applied on observation for your small. However, the chosen audiences are so generic that it's not really gathering useful data. There are no audiences on observation for the larger campaign. Given the other focus areas here, I don't recommend focusing on audiences too much for now. Once your campaigns launch, you may want to target or exclude audiences to reach your industry-specific ideal customers, for example, lawyers, because this was something they said if they want to reach, and it was on their website. Let's go find that part, the different like industries they want to reach. Down here, law firms, realtors, etc. Okay, so audiences, I'm going to give a yellow. There was something there, but also like we're not missing much there. Okay, so I'm going to look at keyword optimization for the second campaign as well, because this is a free audit. I'm not going to dive too deep into it. But if this is not a free audit, of course, everything we did for the first campaign, I would then repeat for this campaign as well. So let's see what's going on in this smaller campaign. We have the dynamic, but 3 impressions, 1 click. I'm not worrying about that. I'm going to focus on the standard ad group. These look the same. Some of these are the same. Some of these are different. Some of these are, so this one also really needs organization. If I sort by impressions, what have we actually been spending on? Again, there's just too much in here. Branding agency, graphic design, website, web design. Okay. Not clear to me why this campaign is different from the other one until you get to like branding for lawyers or stuff like that. Okay, it's more specific, but I don't know. Quality score, more of an issue here. I'm going to bet our search terms are also a mess. Let's see. Graphics design, design agency process, free website, creative logo design and Illustrator, how to create a brand identity, website builder for agencies. None of this is relevant. None of this is relevant. I looked at the smaller campaign and it has the same issues. Too many generic keywords. Broad match, resulting in highly irrelevant search terms. I recommend using this campaign as your industry specific and breaking the different industries into different ad groups so they can have custom landing pages and custom ad text that really speaks to lawyers or PE firms or realtors, etc. Okay. Now we're going to look at the ad creative. What do these ads actually look like? I just got a funny ping from a friend, but I'm not going to read it out loud. Sorry about that. Okay. All campaigns. Let's come back and look at our ads. Whoa. Okay. What do we have here? Ad group enabled. Let's do ad status enabled just to make sure. Okay, so we have 6 ads in total here. I can see that at the bottom. We should have 1 RSA per ad group. This doesn't look like an RSA. Expanded text ads. What a blast from the past. It's funny, they are still serving. Google has told us expanded text ads would not serve anymore, but they are fun. Still driving a lot of conversions, which is why people really hated getting rid of them. You can see this. Let's compare apples to apples, actually. So here is the Toronto Branding Studio campaign with the Toronto Branding Studio ad group. So I'm just going to check these 4 so we can look at those. This is going to be fun. So you see expanded text ad, responsive, expanded, expanded. So the responsive ad, somewhat middling there. These 2 have a lower click-through rate, but these 2 have a much higher click-through rate. And then over here, this one has the killer conversion rate for whatever reason. So that's why that one is being preferred, even though it has a lower click-through rate. Again, a conversion is landing on a contact page, so I don't think that would always be the case. But there's a fun blast from the past. The other ad groups have responsive search ads, responsive search ads. What I like to do to see my responsive search ads at a glance is having this ad strength improvements. So it's saying try adding a few more unique headlines or unpinning, but the other ones are fine, which tells me that they have good ad strength. I don't care too much about ad strength. If it's like poor, then I'll be like, okay, why is it poor? And take a look at that. So I like to have the ad strength column just so I can see that at a glance, but we're good. We're excellent. So I'm not too concerned about ad strength. Since which ad has actually spent the most? It would be this one because this is the main ad in their main campaign that's serving the most. So let's go to view details here. We don't have performance ratings because it's too low volume, but I can sort by impressions to see what's serving. Full service branding and design agency in Toronto, creating strategic identity design. So if I'm someone looking for a website, that's the ad I would see. Doesn't speak to me. They're calling themselves a branding studio. That's really what they're like anchoring into here. And you can see that actually by looking at combinations. This gives an idea of how your ad is showing up in the wild. Branding and design agency, branding, design agency, branding. Okay. So ads, not bad. Ad strength is good. Now that's not everything. So let's look at the actual kind of words they're using. Look at this. Search term, marketing agencies, Toronto, not relevant. Design agencies. Okay, I guess that's relevant. Brand mark, not relevant. I'm going to sort this by asset type and see, like, do we have calls to action, reason for being, that kind of thing. These are all the extensions that you can see are duplicated a lot. I'm going to bet some of those have been automatically created. There we go. Okay, description. Branding for successful professionals that are done with the DIY. I actually think that's too smart. It's confusing, and all I see is, oh, DIY. Yeah, I want a DIY. Now that hasn't served at all, so we're not too concerned about that one. See Toronto graphic designer, Toronto branding studio, unique brand identities, corporate brand. There's a lot of different stuff going on in this ad because there's so many different keywords. So that's another reason we want to have those more specific ad groups. To those that are just joining, hello, I'm in the middle of a real Google Ads account audit for a real account right now. If you have any questions at all, drop it into the chat and I will answer that for you. Okay, we are using responsive ads, though funnily enough, expanded text ads are still in the account. All active ad groups have responsive search ads. However, you still have old expanded text ads active and serving in the smaller campaign. They appear to be performing well, so I wouldn't touch them. But if you implement the recommendations, there we go, in this audit around restructuring and new keywords, you will likely lose them and need to create new RSAs. Audit. Okay. And then responsive ad quality. Again, ad strength itself is not the important thing, but just are we hitting on all best practices and stuff? So all RSAs have good or excellent ad strength, which means you are meeting best practices. Once you restructure into more tightly themed ad groups, you'll be able to create more specific, relevant ads for your different keyword themes. For example, an ad for website design services versus an ad for a branding agency, rather than one ad trying to speak to everything. Okay, so what I'm going to give them for usage is green, and quality kind of yellow, kind of not their fault because that's the way they've structured their campaigns, but it is what it is. Oh, I always forget to update my template. My recommendation now is 6+ assets, formerly known as extensions, not just 4. So let's take a look at what assets they have. Again, making sure I'm on all campaigns, good. Assets, why does it live in its own place? I don't know, but it does. Let's see what we have here. So we have call outs. We have a structured snippet. We have, sometimes it's helpful actually when it's like this, scroll down to the bottom, and in your summary rows, you can see what they are and what they've been spending if we have the right columns. Let's add the right columns, not just that performance, like impressions and cost, just to see. Okay, now we can see what kind of assets, formerly known as extensions, are running because they have spend against them. So the 6 essential are business name, business logo, site links, callouts, snippets, and image, and they have all of those. And then we'll get into the optional ones. So we will say all 6 foundational assets are in use, which I'll write it there. Business name, business logo, image, site links, callout, structure, snippets. That being said, let's see how their images actually are. I don't think these images are so helpful. Like, I think they're going to design business cards for me based on these images, which is not what's happening here. And this one has been disapproved. So, however, the content of these assets is not particularly strong. One image has been disapproved. The rest make me think you're selling business card printing, not branding design. It's okay to be a bit more abstract and use images of people and faces. For example, the site links are quite again, am I going to worry about that for this small business owner? You know what? Repetitive, least of my concerns. They have them. I will just say it may be helpful to implement your site links callouts at the account level so that the same ones apply across all of your campaigns rather than having campaign-specific ones that you need to maintain. Okay, and then I'm going to look at the other assets they have, which were locations. It's barely served, but it's there. And then the headline asset they're using. That's interesting. I wonder if that's intentional or not. So let's click headline to see what that, oh, no assets match your filters. Intriguing. Thank you, Google Ads. So helpful. Let me just eyeball here to see site link, image, business name, site link, image, site link, site link, site link, site link, then total headline 1. You know what? I'm not going to worry too much about it because it's 52 impressions. But thank you, Google Ads. Because one more thing I could try if I do this way, assets instead of associations. Now it's going to show headline, but that's as part of my ads. See, automatically created. Definitely some of those coming in here. Automatically created, which is why they've had this proliferation of site links. Okay, we are nearing the end. So they do not have different formats here. It's just search, so I'm not going to worry about that part. Our scorecard is done. At a glance, we can really see where the opportunity is. So we're going to start kind of summarizing this and getting it ready to send off to the client. So we don't have other formats, so I'm just going to delete those. And then this is more for me to check on locations and ad schedule just to see if there's anything wonky there. So I'm on the all campaigns view. I now click settings and let's see, locations. So New York, ad schedule, Monday to Wednesday, 3 to 7 p.m. What? That's why I like to check on this stuff because sometimes you see some wonky things. So let's take a look. Ad schedule. Why the heck are they only running ads from Monday to Wednesday, 3 to 7 p.m., which does crazy things to your budget? Because remember, your average daily budget actually sets a monthly budget. They're spending $15.20 in the month of December. So it means all of that budget is just being spent these 3 times a week. It does not mean that they're just spending $50 a day, $50 a day, $50 a day and off for the rest of this time. It means they're spending more than $100 a day. Okay, that's so weird and exactly why I check on these things. Your main campaign has an ad schedule set of Monday to Wednesday, which means you are only showing ads during, is that 12 hours a week? Hours per week. Why? Hi. Locations, there was nothing weird there. And this audit is almost done. So last thing I like to do before I deliver, if you only do one thing as a result of this audit, what should it be? And so based on everything we saw here today, it is definitely keyword optimization. So it should be picking more specific, relevant keywords, adding them in exact match rather than broad match, and theming them in ad groups. There we go. that is our audit. Now, last thing before I send it to the client, that page break is okay, but if there's any weird little ones like this, I'll just put that on a new page. There we go. So I'm going to download this as a PDF. For my Inside Google Ads course members, I'm going to put that PDF right below this video so you can take a look at it as well. And I'm going to go send this off to the client. This has taken us 50 minutes to audit this account together. And again, if you have any questions at all, please feel free to drop a comment on this video and I will get back to you. And thank you lastly to M81 Creative for being our guinea pig here. I wish you the best of luck in improving those Google Ads results in the new year. Thank you.